Let's do this.
And we are live. Hello, and welcome to the Lyon Show. I'm your host, your favorite business coach, Robert Lyon. Today, we have the great privilege of talking to Dr. Wayne Pernell. He is a breakthrough success coach. He is the founder of DynamicLeader Incorporated, and he's just an awesome guy. I just watched his TED Talk last night, and he kind of blew me away, so I'm super excited to have him on the show. So, Dr. Wayne, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody who you are and what you're up to?
Robert, it's so good to be here. There are so many things going on in the world right now, and there's so many things people are tripping over, and it's just so important, I think, to be focused on where we're headed and the potential for success. My background, really quickly, my background is clinical psychology. I took a left turn into business about 35 years ago as I was working on my doctorate. And about 10 years ago, took another left turn into coaching. So I've been in leadership positions. I've done organization development. I've worked with leaders at Schwab, 3Com, Whole Foods Market, AAA, Simplex, Safeway, B of A. Like I've worked with leaders out there, and it's been really amazing to do that work. And along the way, I accidentally wrote 5 books. People ask me, like, how do you do all this? So I'm an international #1 best-selling author. I have 5 books out there. I have my own podcast called One Sharp Sword. And this is how it sounds. One sharp sword, cutting through to what matters most. And then, and I have a blog that I've been doing for 4 years, Wednesdays with Wayne. So yeah, part of what I teach in breakthrough coaching is how intentional can you be, right? There's so much bad news out there that if you spend energy in getting sucked into that, you have no time or energy to get sucked into the things that really do matter to you. So, the fact that this is Mindset Monday, it's like, this is so important. The breakthrough, like your business and your life and who you lift as a result of that, that is so important. So, what was the question? Did I answer it?
You said a lot, and I just need to unpack a little bit.
Yeah.
So you've worked with those massive brands as their leadership coach. Is that what you did for like Whole Foods and Safeway when you were listing those off? So
actually, I was a consultant for Whole Foods, and they liked me so much that they invited me to apply for a position, and I did, and I became the director of human resources for the Northern Pacific region at Whole Foods. And that was the most wonderful mistake that I made. It was awesome. Like really, I'm this big possibility thinker, and to be put into a role of human resources locked me in a way that I didn't know that I wouldn't like. And so, I mean, but the answer to your question is, yes, I consulted at high levels with each of those brands that I just mentioned. So and it wasn't necessarily the owner or the leader, but it was certainly senior leadership, vice president and above that I was working with. Yeah.
Well, that's so cool. I think we got introduced from some other leadership coaches, and they said that we're in a lot of big companies are in a state of sad leadership. That's how they put it. So It's good to meet you and meet somebody that's going into these big businesses and empowering the leadership. Like how do you become the leadership coach? Like how did this whole story of you being able to do that, we just said, start?
Yeah. So, wow, that started for me. That kind of success has been word of mouth, actually.
Nice.
It started, as I said, 35 years ago. It's very strange for me to say that because I was a baby. No, I was working on, I kind of was a baby. I mean, I was working on my doctorate. I was doing counseling. This couple was getting some results. This guy calls me and he says, "Thank you for helping me and my wife." And I'm like, "You're welcome. What a great call." And he's like, "But that's not why I'm calling you." I'm like, "Darn it. Why not? Like, I thought you were calling to thank me." He's like, No, that thing you did with me and my wife, can you do that with me and my vice president? And I'm like, "Pardon?" He says, "That thing you did." I'm like, "The communication, like I help you build communication." He's like, "That thing, that helped us so much. Can you help us? Can you help me with my vice president?" And I hadn't realized, being this kind of newbie counselor, working my way into clinical psychology, that the work I'd done, I hadn't realized that this man was actually the president of a major organization in South San Francisco. And I said, like any very self-confident person who is just starting out, I said, sure, I think so. Like, maybe, right? So it's kind of squeaked it out. Sure, let's do this. And I began working with them. And it was, what I realized is that the concepts of clinical psychology, of family therapy, of couples therapy, an organization is a gigantic, wonderfully dysfunctional family, typically, right? There are communication issues, there's demand to be acknowledged, there's power plays, you know, because I said so, darn it. So I started working with these guys at the top, and we started with communication. We worked our way into doing values, because communication is based on what do you value, and communication errors happen when there's a mismatch. It's because, well, I value one thing and I assume you value the same, and my job is to make sure that everybody is very clear. Values aren't always the same. There's overlap, but you know, people don't always value the exact same thing. We started to develop a vision for the company that had been unclear up to that point. We began to set a strategy based on the vision. And about the fourth time I showed up, the line staff, the core workers, some of them were out front applauding my arrival. You are here. We're so glad to see you. And I'm like, what's up? And they point to the top floor and they're like, these guys, they are working so well together now. And they're talking about it. They're telling us, they know where they're headed, and they're telling us where the company is headed. The communication has improved so much that we know what's expected of us. Thank you. And I'm like, oh my God. So at that point, I started doing focus groups with the line staff, the middle management, and senior management. I began building bridges, and I was doing organization development before that was even a thing. That, you know, back then, 3.5 decades, almost 4 decades ago, that was, you know, industrial organizational was the thing, and you would make your workers work harder. And I began working on culture, like company culture from the top, without even knowing that's what I was doing. So I sort of stumbled into organization development. Well, the company culture, when that coalesces, when that comes together, there's nothing stronger than that. You know, I'll just stay on my ramble for a second. There are some key things that people want, and very often the leadership thinks, well, we'll just pay them more, or we'll just give them a little bit of a raise, or we'll just, you know, and it's like, guess what? Being paid salary, like, that's important, but it's number 5 on the list. In survey after survey, number 1 is give me meaningful work. Make my work, like, make it matter. My work has to matter to me. And number 2, acknowledge it. Like, tell me that you see it. Like, tell me that you see it. Number 1 and 2, it should be really easy, right? For a leader to come out and go, you know what? We're making these little widgets, and you may not know on the factory floor that by turning the screw exactly this number of times, you're holding this together, and the end user is safe. They are confident, and it's because you're making this thing. And it's like, make that matter.
Yeah.
Right. You talk about why that little insignificant, you're doing this report and it must show up on my desk on this day. Why does that matter? It matters because in the long run, look at this big perspective. Awesome. Then say, thank you. Like, I see you do it. Thank you. Right. That's how you build a culture, and you build it based on your values, and you let people know about the values. So yeah, that's where, like, that's where I started. And obviously, I get pretty passionate about it because it continues to matter. It doesn't matter if you're in a family, or if you're in a giant company or a startup, or if you're one of the, I'll call it just plain old workers, right? If you're a line staff member, you still get to contribute to company culture based on how you show up. And you can be a leader based on how you see others and acknowledge them.
Yeah. So you think the superpowers are communication and values? Like that's like your go-to for when you're trying to help leaders or just help a business like company or anything?
That's a really great question. I would say, yeah. I mean, my personal superpower is that I actually can see stuck. I don't know how else to describe it other than, somebody's like banging their head against the ceiling going, I know there's more, but I can't get past it. And it's like, well, I could see it. This is it's your mindset, it's the way you're thinking, it's the way you're communicating with yourself, it's the way you're communicating with other people. You can't get past yourself, right? So that for me is part of it. And yeah, I mean, it goes back to personal values, it goes back to the way you're communicating. It's the way, I created the Stuck at the Top program, right?
Yeah.
Because people do get to this place of, I just can't get past this, and that's a thing, the journey changes people and people forget that, right? That you set your sights on success. If you're feeling slightly unfulfilled, or maybe big time unfulfilled, I aimed for the success target. I thought it was going to be great. I landed the perfect job. I'm getting paid a lot of money. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
Why don't I feel successful? It's because the journey changed you. Getting to that place where you've had this success target and you landed there, you forgot that that's not the end, right? Yeah. So that's all part of it too, is the journey does change you. And I come back to be deliberate about that. So
it's just so frustrating though, man. I think everybody's done that. We've all had these big goals and then we've gotten them. And then now we're still pissed and we're at the place we wanted to be for so long.
Yeah. So I call this is great, Robert. I call this joyfully dissatisfied.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you paused your life right now, you could go, you know what? There are a lot of things to be happy about. I could say I'm joyful.
Right.
In my life, I have joy. I can bring the joy. There's other crap going on out in the world. That's cool. In my life, I paused it right now. I look around. I'm doing okay. I'm doing more than just surviving. I'm joyful. And then, my life isn't paused. And I know there's more. And I'm aching for more. I'm dissatisfied. How can I be both? Yeah. You are both. You are both. Be joyful. Awesome. In this moment. Be joyful. And
remember that.
Right. And in this moment, ache for more. Go for it. Like, be joyful in your journey. Like, there's more. Awesome. What's your next big step towards it? What's your next small step towards it? Right. It's like, yes, there's more. Go for it. Right. Do it joyfully. Ache for more. Keep going. This is about life expansion. This is about you choosing to have a bigger life, not going, well, I guess I worked for this and I got there and I guess it's okay. No, stop. When you stop growing, you start dying. So it's about.
All right. Well, Dr. Wayne, I want to break through. All right. Let's talk about how do we break through once we get to that stuck point? How do you do it, man? How do you help somebody? You see they're stuck and you see they want more and they're stuck. How do you break them through?
Awesome. So in the book, you can see some books behind me: Choosing Your Power, The Significance Factor, and then Dynamic Transitions. So in Dynamic Transitions, I talk about a values assessment. Look, if you look back on your life 20 years ago, you go, yeah, of course I'm different than I was 20 years ago. Hardly anybody goes, well, 20 years from now, these are the things I'm going to value. These are the things I'm going to value. So what you do is you look back 20 years ago, you look back 10 years ago, you look back 5 years ago, and you go, well, how did I change? How did I morph into who I am now? And people in their 20s are going to value the adventure of life. Like, look at me, look what I can do. Look at, I'm on fire. And it is about recognition, self-recognition. Look at me. There's a lot of that. In your 30s, you start to go, well, how do I build a little stability for myself? In your 40s, you start to look at, how do I build legacy? And It's not a hard and fast, now I'm 30, how do I build stability? Now I'm 40, how do I build legacy? There's overlap, but approximately in those ages, right? How do I build legacy, right? And then it's in your 50s, it's health. In your 60s, it's health and adventure again. It's like, I've lived my life. Now I want the rewards of it. Well, you look back and you go, okay, so if I'm going through these phases, who do I want to become? So what I do, you talked about the breakthrough. What I do is I work with people to look at, who do you need to become to live into what you think of as your best self? And I'm not saying your best self today, I'm saying your best self tomorrow. Let's look at 2 years down the road. How are you living your life? Who do you want to be? And you start to take on those values now. Don't wait for 2 years. The breakthrough happens when you go, you know what? When I've got this much money, I'm going to donate to charity, or I'm going to, travel more. I'm going to reach out to all my friends. Do it now, right? You start it now. You start living the life you want now. You don't wait for it. When I'm successful, I'm going to be this. Live that success life now. I'm not saying spend a ton of money that you don't have, but I'm saying start to engage the practices of the person who is your best self. And so many people have that as a someday I'll do that. And the breakthrough that happens is, oh my gosh, I could actually be that person now. Right? It's no accident that, again, I mean, like, I look at my life when I have people introduce me, and they're, the list goes on. I mean, I'm on television pretty much every week now. I've been interviewed by the New York Times, and I have articles in Entrepreneur and Fast Company. And it's like, someday, when I'm successful, I'll be writing for the, no, it's like, how do you start writing a book? You open your computer, you turn on you open your documents file, you start writing your first words in a Word doc, and you save it as book 1. You don't even have to title it, just put your stuff down, right? It's about taking that first step. So the breakthrough is this: define who you want to be. List a few attributes of people that might have influenced you. What do you like about those people? Can you live into those attributes? Can you take them on and wear them like maybe it feels like someone else's coat? Awesome. Are you wearing it? Can you grow into it? Can it be tailored to you? Don't become someone else. Mm-hmm. Right? That's the other mistake. Well, I want to be just like, and they'll name some, influencer guru that's out there. It's like, don't be that person. The world, that's the other piece of advice I have, is the world needs your voice. I've worked with so many people that have said, well, I'm not going to write a book. And even I had that thing, like, I don't know, like, a lot of what I've said has been said before. And then, it's like, but no one said it my way. Gesundheit. I saw that.
I muted myself so no one would know.
I know, that was awesome.
So
that was awesome.
I do have to ask you some questions. So you said you got to be yourself, right? And you also have to find the values. So how can we like hold ourselves accountable, or how do you hold your clients accountable? Because like, if I did everything that I was supposed to do, I'd be waking up at like 4 a.m, cold shower, like doing mantras, and that could be me, and that I want that to be me, but it's also not me, because I'm trying my best. But how do we do baby steps? Do you like make a plan and then you work your plan? Like, how do you look at it?
Well, here's the thing, Robert. There's even in what you said, right? A little laser coaching for you. Well, to be my best self, I have to wake up at 4. I have to take cold showers. I'm actually personally against that, right? And partly that's because you're listening to someone else's shoulds.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, well, what's my best self? My best self is, and maybe for you, your best self might be, well, you know what? I get my 8 hours of sleep. I'm a night person. I choose to wake up at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Awesome. My first thing is, the only piece of advice that I have for a routine is keep drinking lots of water. Always have water in front of you. And, don't roll out of bed and touch your cell phone. Roll out of bed, spend time with yourself. Be in the space of gratitude, but to push yourself because 4 a.m. is where everything happens. It's not. There are a lot of people that are successful. You've got to be able to fuel yourself. So so the biggest thing, like, how do you live into your best self? You decide what your best self lifestyle is. And then you do the things. Well, you know what? My best self is writing. The best time I could write is before anybody else gets up. So I'm going to start getting up at 5 instead of 6 or 7, right? It's quiet. That's a choice then to live into your best self, not, well, here's this thing that other people are doing. They're getting up at 4 and they, you know, they go to bed at 3 and it's like, no, that's a formula for burnout. So stop, like the first thing I would do is stop listening to other people's shoulds. You should do this, you should do that. It's like, that's them. What works for you? What's your best self? How do you wake up joyful? Like if you knew that you were to be of the biggest service to others, how do you live into that best self for you, right? There's no set answer. So I work with people who have all kinds of different lifestyles, you know, from actors to dentists, from business investors to office managers. I mean, really, it's like, what's your best life? What's the best life for you? I'm not going to come and say, you know what, you need to be making millions. What's wrong with you? It's more like, look, who do you want to be? Because I've got people that are on the verge of retiring going, I have a professional that I'm working with, and she has traded some of her professional hours for becoming a yoga instructor. How awesome is that, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, you know, I picked this back up. It's like, look, the retreat that I run, the Stuck at the Top retreat. And just, it's like that happens a couple times a year. And it's a small group where, you know, you talked about holding yourself accountable. It's the idea of you get a small group together of people that you can trust, that you're working on your own thing, where somebody else might come and go, I have an idea for you. It's not my world, but I have a perception about your world that you may not have. That's what a mastermind is, right?
Yeah.
Look, if I have $1 and you have $1 and we trade dollars, we both still have $1. But if I have an idea, Robert, and you have an idea, and we trade ideas, now we have not just one idea each, we have 2 ideas and 3 and 4 and 5, because those things magnify, they multiply, right? And that's the idea of a mastermind. And then you have a group of people that are holding each other accountable. That's awesome, right? That's awesome. So I would say find a group that makes sense to you, right? Whether it's Stuck at the Top. I'm tempted to say .com, which is where people can find that, right? So stuckattetop.com, whether it's that or another group, like gather the people around you that you think can elevate you, plus you can elevate. The goal is not to be the smartest person in the room. That's the other thing, right? Yeah. A lot of people are so insecure that they lack the confidence to go, you know what? I'm putting myself in a room of people that I don't know anything about what they know. How amazing is that? Right now, I'm going to expand my thinking versus someone might judge me.
Yeah.
The truth is, someone will judge you, and so what? Right? That's the biggest thing. So what? So what if they judge you? So what? Right?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm still thinking about when you said how to live into your best person. Like if you knew who you were, if you could deliver the absolute most value, and then you live into that person. I just think as soon as you said that was like a mic drop moment for me. So like, that's so powerful and profound that I had to bring it back up, man. And I really appreciate you for saying that. So.
Thank you. Yeah. Most people don't think that way. They think of, well, you know, this is the resource I have. This is who I've been. This is who I am. Stop it. Right. Yeah. Who you've been that's what got you here. Who you are now and your choices right now are the choices that get you to who you're becoming. Yeah. So be really intentional about who you're becoming. You know, it's the joke is like, well, someday I'm going to lose 15 pounds. It's like, well, why don't you stop doing your Netflix binge and having pizzas delivered? You know, it's like, well, someday I'm going to do, it's like, no, there's a small habit change you can do that makes that happen. Right. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be fit someday. That starts now with a small habit, right? You don't instantly become that person. It's said that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. And the second best time to plant a tree is today.
Right.
Right.
Oh man, you and your magical wisdom, you got it going. So you've written 5 books, you're on TV, you're doing all this stuff. What's something that you're really excited about now? Like something you're digging into, or something that you're really trying to bring right now?
Yeah. So I've got this giant stretch goal, and mine is big stages. Right. And then this pandemic hit. Right. I see myself in front of a crowd of 50,000 people.
Nice.
I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know that's coming. Right. So, and that's really funny that I'm listening to my own tonality as I say this. And that's part of it, is being in the moment and watching the moment. And it's like, and I just threw away, and I don't know how. It's like, and I know it's coming. And it's like, no, I want to say that part again. I know it's coming, right? Not, oh, and I know it's coming. I know it's coming. And that's really important, is to have your big goal and your big dream. And you don't have to know the how. Right. You have to have the certainty of the what. Because my goal, and it is, and maybe the stage of 50,000 is to do podcasts like this, right? That it's like, maybe it's not a big standing on stage, maybe now it's a global stage. And so my goal is to really impact the lives of 1 billion people. Nice. And that's 1/7 of the global population. And it's a big ass goal, right? But I really see that the world is hurting so badly right now that we need to reach out. We need to be the leaders for others. We need to be the ones that say, I see you, right? I see you as a human. I see you and I value you. And I think that's what pulls me forward. It's not a push anymore. It's like, you know what? The world could heal if we each just touched another life positively, right? Deliberately, actively, positively. And so, you know, the next big thing for me is big stages. And that is where I'm headed. And yeah, more books, certainly, more TV, inevitable. Awesome. You know, but yeah, speaking on bigger stages, getting the privilege of lifting others' lives is huge.
Yeah, that's awesome. Whew. Well, I'm very interested in the listener's success. So are there any other tips to be more successful, to have more impact, that you think we haven't talked about that might be helpful?
So yeah, prior to our call, I was talking with you a little bit, and I have this life-changing thing that happened for me when I was asked a very particular question. And it was this, you know, it's not an easy life. And that's the thing that I think any listener needs to know, that we get to see everybody else's highlight reel, but we never see the times when you're, you know, cleaning up vomit or dog poop, or like, we don't look at those times. We see, wow, look at all this success. And I think it's really important to know that life gets messy sometimes. And there was a time, 20 years ago at this point, that was a bounce time for me. It was pretty low. I was on the verge of bankruptcy. I was really close to losing my job, and my marriage wasn't going so well. And my headspace was terrible. And I flew to my brother's house. He lived in, Jeff lived in Nevada, and he was 12 years younger, still is 12 years younger, always will be, I suppose, right? So, which meant that growing up, he could never help me, right? 12 years younger, that's a pretty good spread. And so he was pretty excited that I had chosen his place to get to clear my head. And I'm sitting on his living room floor, pulling at the strands of shag carpeting. That was when shag was a thing, right? So it's white shag carpet, and I'm rocking back and forth. And he's like, brother, you know, I'm so glad you're here. And he's trying to jolly me up, and, you know, like, woo, so glad you're here. Let's do something fun. And I'm like, it was almost as if I was saying, I'm just trying to be depressed, darn it. And, you know, like, grr. And he's like, hey, what do you want to do? Should we, like, we should do something. Do you want to get a pizza? Let's get a pizza. I'm like, okay, a pizza, sure, yeah. And he bounces off to the kitchen. This is how long ago it was. He opens a book, the Yellow Pages, Right?
What?
I know, pre-Google times. It's amazing. And he pulls the phone with the big yellow cord, long cord from the wall, and he yells to me, starts to dial in the number to the pizza parlor, and he yells to me, "Hey, what do you like on your pizza?" And I told him the answer, which was the easy answer that I'd always given, because that's what was easy for the kids. And I blurred out, "Pineapple and olives, that's fine." And he starts to punch in the buttons to call, and I burst into tears at that point. And he looks at me and he hangs up the phone, closes the phone book, and he looks at me sort of confused, and he comes over and he wraps his arm around me. He goes, hey, it's just a pizza." And I'm like, I know it's just a pizza, but here's the thing, no one ever asked me that question before. He's like, "What?" I go, "Look, I gave you the answer that was the easy answer so that the kids didn't argue, so that there were fewer arguments at home. Pineapple and olives was what we decided that everybody could agree to if ever we ordered a pizza. I gave you the easy answer. That was the go along to get along answer. No one's ever asked me what I like on my pizza." And I realized in that moment, when you asked me that, I realized I've been going along to get along. And if I've been going along to get along in the small areas of my life, holy crap, what about the big areas of my life? Where else have I been going along to get along? And for me, that was the big change. It's like, no more, no more. I am in control of my life from this point forward. And it was that for me was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing what everybody else said I should do, could do, was supposed to do, all the shoulds, all the supposed tos. I was living somebody else's life, multiple other people's life. I was not living my own. And so the piece of breakthrough advice really is this: get control of who you want to be. No more going along to get along. You choose. You choose.
Now I want pizza, man. No.
Well, what do you like on your pizza? Right? It's
exactly. I'm going to choose.
And that's what's
so
cool,
powerful,
right? That's what's really cool about that for me is now every time I do order a pizza, it's really affirming. Yeah. It's really like, I choose. Today I choose artichokes. Darn it, and it's like, right? But that's so symbolic for everything else. I'm choosing to be defiant. Pineapple does belong on pizza. Yeah. And mostly these days I'm choosing not pizza. I'm choosing something else because, my life is different. So, I do get to choose every day. Yeah. And you start to take inventory of the things that are going right in your life, and where you realize you do have control. That's what choosing your power is about. You step in and you choose to take your power back. You choose to own the space you're in. You choose to be in a space that that every day you are becoming who you deserve to be at home, in the world, right? In the community. You touch people's lives on purpose, right? Not be the leaf that's blown around in the wind, right? It's cool.
My power, man. Your power. Yep. Everybody's power listening. That's so important to step into that. Oh man. Well, you've delivered so much wisdom. I got one more question for you, but before we get into that, why don't you tell everybody like the best places to buy your book, or the best ways to get in contact or to join your Stuck at the Top?
Awesome. Yeah, I would love, there are two main websites I want you to keep in mind. One is DynamicLeader.com. And when you go there, it does redirect to the Wayne Pernell page, but a lot of people misspell Wayne Pernell. So find DynamicLeader.com. And on that page, you'll be able to download a copy of The Significance Factor. So, and please sign up for the Wednesdays with Wayne. You get me in your inbox every, believe it or not, Wednesday. That's why it's called Wednesdays with Wayne. I've been doing that for years. So if you just want free stuff and you want a hit of wisdom, I've got somebody that contacts me every so often and says, you know what, I read your Wednesdays with Wayne to my team every week because I'm in charge of doing culture and weekly inspiration, and your stuff is moving my business. It's like, thank you, and I've got other people that are like, I just need to hear that personally. So my goal is to lift people's lives. And, I believe that everybody is a leader. Everybody is a leader. Somebody's watching you, right? And so that's why I chose Dynamic Leader as my brand name. So be the dynamic leader. The other thing is stuck at the top, right? So dynamicleader.com and then stuckattetop.com. It is the breakthrough program for people who have, they have a little bit of success behind them and they just ache for more. They know there's more, and they still either, if you're finding yourself showing up almost apologetically for feeling like, well, I do want more, but I don't know if I'm okay to ask for it, or I want more. I know I want more, but I don't know how to get there, or something keeps getting in the way every time I take a step forward. Those kinds of frustrations, that's what Stuck at the Top is about. So we'll break you through that, and you will have movement like you've never seen. And I will say that over and over and over again, the Stuck at the Top retreat has been called life-changing. That phrase, life-changing, has been like, that's been the two words that have been used for this retreat over and over again. So if you want to get some massive movement in a 2-day session with me, we're going to be in St. Louis, April 16th and 17th. And I cap it at right around a dozen people. And right, people are saying, well, you're gathering during a pandemic. It's like, guess what? Picture the grand ballroom. Now picture 12 of us in a grand ballroom. I have us set up so that we're socially distant, safe, and as safe as we can be. I am still gathering us, you bet. And we're going to do some massive breakthrough work. So not a small conference room. There are going to be about a dozen of us in a grand ballroom. And if you want to be one of them, go check out stuckattethetop.com.
Awesome, man.
Thank you.
That's exciting. I love that, breakthrough success and then stuck at the top, man. You're on it. You got it. So yeah, the question that I'm asking everybody that comes on my show is, what motivates you, or what is motivation? Oh,
awesome. Good deal. So I have 2 words that I start my day with. A lot of people will roll out of bed, and actually this was part of my history, was years and years and years ago, I had a period of time where things just were sucky, and it was just prior to everything else happening. And I found myself, there was a period of time that I would roll out of bed and the first words out of my mouth were, right. And like, right. So guess how the rest of my day would go. Right. So I shifted that when I got back in control and realized I've been given this day to serve greatly, to make a difference in other people's lives. And it doesn't matter what role you have, what job you're in, you do get to make a difference in people's lives, right? Even if it's smiling at somebody at the grocery store, or, it's like you do just by connecting. So I start my day with opening my eyes and saying, thank you out loud, right? So living in a place of gratitude, living in a place of service, recognizing that everybody's going through something. Mm-hmm. And if I can help, I sort of have this mantra of comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable, right? So it's like, if you're too comfortable, I'm going to poke on you because you can grow. But if you're in a space of suffering, it's like, I'm going to show you how to get out of that, because that's mindset too. That too is mindset. So what motivates me is this call to recognize, like, I do recognize that everybody can up level if they want to. And I have run some miles that other people haven't run to be able to know how to do that. So what motivates me is to go, I've got a path. It works. Come on. Like,
yeah.
It's like,
let's do it.
Let's do it. Exactly. So, yep.
Love it. Well, I am grateful for having you come on the show today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Any last thoughts before we wrap up?
It's an honor. It really is. It's an honor. It's a privilege. Every day can be that. And here it is, Robert, where I get to be with you and your audience. And so I am both honored and privileged. And thank you. Yeah. And just one more time, if we could get, as you're listening to this, head to dynamicleader.com and head to stuckattethetop.com. You owe it to yourself, really, to check both of those out. So yeah, cool. Thank you
Love
for
it.
having me.
No problem, man. Thank you everybody for investing the time to listen today. I'm sure you got some amazing value. Be sure to share it with a friend so they can get in on the value too. And like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.